Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting. It is May 18th, 2020, and I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:32 p.m. We have a quorum this evening, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chaplain Sparks is here to do our invocation this evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Broom, distinguished council members, city manager, city clerk, department heads, and other distinguished citizens and guests of College Park.
Good evening.
We pray. Almighty God, we thank you for allowing us to assemble collectively once again. We thank you for another chance to praise and acknowledge your presence on this evening and during this moment. Holy Spirit, we ask that you come into our presence to rule and abide while our esteemed elected officials conduct the business of this great city of College Park. Heavenly Father, although we are in the middle of unprecedented times, we know that you are still in control, not just in this session, but also in our daily lives. Let wisdom, cooperation, and respect rule in the midst of your children on this evening. Let the welfare of the citizens be on the hearts and minds of those who sit on this governing board. O Lord, continue to bless and cover our employees while they maintain and go about serving this community. From my fellow first responders, police and fire, to the public workers, to City Hall employees, and everyone else employed in this city and this state. Continue to bless and keep those that are less fortunate than others. Heavenly Father, we are working collaboratively and collectively down here on this plane to make a place for all in your kingdom. We pray for peace, love, respect, and healing on this evening. We will be careful and mindful to continually to give you all the honor and glory you so rightfully deserve. In your precious Son, Jesus Christ's name, amen.
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 Thank you. All right, we're moving to item number 2, additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda. I have one, 9B. Need to move that as we just got background information on the applicants about 4:45. I've not had an opportunity to review that thoroughly, and I believe that others may want that opportunity as well. So my proposal will be to move that to our first meeting in June. Does anyone else have any other additions, deletions, amendments, or changes?
No.
I move to approve as recommended.
Is there a second?
Second.
So many seconds. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. The changes to the agenda are approved. All right. So we have 4 sets of minutes to approve. Item 3A is the approval of the regular session minutes dated May 4th, 2020.
My changes got in. I move to approve as long as everyone else is happy with it.
I was fine with them. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That's unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. 3B, approval of workshop session minutes dated May 4th, 2020.
Move to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Anyone against? All right. That is unanimous as well. Approval of budget session minutes dated April 15th, 2020.
Move to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That is unanimous. And 3D is approval of budget session minutes dated April 21st, 2020.
Also move to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? All right, that is unanimous as well. Item 4A, presentation of a proclamation designating May 17th through the 23rd, 2020 as National Public Works Week in the city of College Park. And this is Mr. Mason's purview.
Good evening.
Good evening. I guess, Mr. Moore, in light of the fact that we are all in our various areas and not together, there is a proclamation. What is your proposal in terms of dealing with it?
So this is simply in recognition of National Public Works Week in the city of College Park. So being that, given the environment you just outlined quite eloquently, this is simply a recognition thereof. Normally a physical proclamation be present. We're simply asking Mayor and City Council to acknowledge and declare the week of May 17th through the 23rd as National Public Works Week, having began just yesterday.
Well, all right. I am pleased to acknowledge that. And the rhythm of public works is the theme for National Public Works Week. So I would urge all of our citizens to, especially as May is cleanup month, to make sure that we are so appreciative of all the things that our Public Works Department is doing. And if anyone has anything to add to that, feel free. But I certainly know that they go above and beyond the call of duty every single day, and we are a better city for it.
Everybody go out and thank them.
Absolutely.
Give them thanks as they go by.
On behalf of the men and women that works in the Department of Public Works, we say thank you to Mayor and Council and to the community that we serve. So we're very appreciative of that.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. All right, we've moved on to item 5, remarks of citizens. Ms. Moore, do we have any comments?
Yes, we have
All
a few comments. The first comment is from the College Park Main Street Association, and it reads, "Dear Mayor," can we start my clock? 1 second. Okay, it reads, "Dear College Park Mayor and Council, the College Park Main Street Association vision is to support a safe and thriving business district. In the time of COVID-19, we must weigh profitable business outcomes along with favorable public health outcomes. The 2019 Marta accessibility study identified congestion and redesign of the parking from Princeton to John Wesley as an important step to improving Main Street's accessibility and safety to all citizens, businesses, and stakeholders. In alignment with the CPMSA strategic plan for 2020, which has 2 focus points, first, a unified Main Street design, and second, retail development, we present the following project and request your support for us to move forward to present a firm plan to council. Reimagine/reopen College Park Main Street will create a larger outdoor dining atmosphere, helping to ensure maximum patronage and safety for Main Street businesses. The proposed pilot area is downtown CP from Princeton to Yale, in collaboration with committed business owners to include a Thursday through Sunday lunch. A signature piece of this plan will introduce the creation of College Park Lets on the Main Street to improve the congestion, allow for more outdoor living, and expand the reach of businesses along Main Street. We believe that this effort will gather favorable attention from press, help encourage future business development, and create an opportunity to reimagine College Park Main Street, where the future includes a large outdoor public environment that reflects the goal of 6 West. College Park Let's get our businesses back to work. College Park Let's improve our city. College Park Let's make the difference. CPMSA would request that you schedule us on your calendar in June for presentation of this exciting plan. Sincerely, Julian Naba, CPMSA Chair. Okay, that's one. The next one is from Ms. Celisa Jefferson, Ward 4 stakeholder. And it reads, "Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I would like to advocate for the approval of funds to be contributed and allocated to begin with the installation and implementation of the splash pad project at Charles Phillips Park. This project will be beneficial to the entire community quality of living by improving our residents, families, and children engagement and development. The effects of COVID-19 is adversely impacting our community, and once our new normality starts and the quarantine is lifted, this splash pad project will be enjoyable enlightenment to our neighborhood. Here's how. Number one, splash pads include intentionally designed features to cultivate cognitive skills like planning, imaginative thinking, focus, problem solving, and self-control as children interact with moving water. These neurological building blocks shape and carry children through life. Number two, physical activity builds capacity in youth as they learn how to be leaders, how to be creative and problem solve, and how to meet and build healthy relationships with friends. Number three, children and youth are encouraged to trade indoor time for outdoor time. Spending more time being active and less time being sedentary helps children perform better in school, learn new skills, and improve self-confidence. Therefore, Madam Mayor and Council, we thank you for your service and ask you to serve us well by voting yes for the community and to contribute and allocate all necessary funds to build our splash pad in Charles Phillips Park. Sincerely, Ms. Celisa Jefferson, Ward 4 stakeholder. Okay, the next one is from an M. Dunn, no address, and it reads, while I think we are lucky to have Urban Farm in our city with the good work they do, however, in such a time when revenue is down and we have reduced our budget, I think timing is bad for this request. Also, you have asked our police to forego take-home cars that they were told if they move in the city, they qualify for one. 3 police cars was cut from the budget along with many other things. Thank you. The next comment is from Marjorie Dent, and it reads, there are currently 3 citizens on the BIDA board from Ward 1. If another citizen is selected to join BIDA, that will make it 4 Ward 1 members on BIDA. Is this acceptable and fair to the citizens of College Park? And the last comment is from Mr. Michael Lindsay, and his address is 2240 Rugby Terrace. And he has a question, and it reads, being that there are 7 seats on BIDA board, would having 4 members from the same ward on the BIDA equal a fair vote on particular issues? And that is it.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have no public hearings. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm skipping other business. Any discussion regarding any updated ordinances, Ms. Moore?
Not unless you guys have any questions.
I have none.
I'm not hearing anyone else with any either. So,
No,
all right.
I don't have.
Okay. So we have no public hearings. So we're moving on to item 8A, which is consideration of an action on a request to adopt a resolution authorizing the City of College Park to continue to participate in the Fulton County Community Development Block Grant Program for program year 2021 through 2023. Anyone have any questions about this one?
I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Can they clarify a couple of things for me? I'm not clear on what is the 2021 Cdbg allocations and
What page are you on?
there's no page. I just need clarification. I don't quite understand can they clarify what did we as a body approve for the 2021?
The issue before us is just authorization back into the program again. We can get you that information in terms of the projects that have been approved, but At this
Yeah.
point, it is just authorization to continue in the program.
No, I get that, but
Okay.
in order for me to understand what
We can't hear.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you, Councilman Gay.
No.
No, I was having trouble hearing you. That's all.
I'm asking a question. If I can ask it now, I can ask it during my council minutes. But because we're talking about CDBG, I'm asking for clarification from staff to clarify what the 2020-21 Cdbg allocations were. What did we vote on?
Madam Mayor, if I can.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Gay, that is to be determined. As the mayor pointed out, this is simply an opportunity to re-engage with Fulton County to continue in their urban program. However, that the timeframe you just outlined has not yet been determined. So once they make their announcements regarding the application and proposal process, that information would become available at that time.
Well, I need clarification because we just talked about this at the last council meeting, and I request the minutes, and I'm not clear what the 2021 Cdbg allocations were. I thought there were 3. Let me clarify. I thought it was phase 2 of the renovation of the Brady Center, the demolition of Kathleen Mitchell School, and splash pad at Phillips Park. Can someone clarify, is that not what we just did at the last council meeting?
If I may, Councilman Gay and ladies and gentlemen, those were from allocation years 2018. So what was remaining from program year 2018 made those opportunities possible. For the 2019 consideration involves improvements to Charles Phillips Park vicinity. So that's separate and apart from this agreement and associated timeframe, sir.
No, and so what I'm simply trying to do is distinguish these programs before I start talking about 2023. So let me make sure I'm clear. Can you clarify for the record, what are the 2019 allocations that we just voted on? Councilman Clay, do you understand the question? I see you looking puzzled. Do you understand the question, what I'm asking?
You're asking what has been allocated under the current CDBG program, I believe.
That's all I was asking.
And what we're voting on is whether to participate in the next CDBG program. But you're asking about the current program, right?
In order for me to understand what we're going to do in the future, I'm just trying to understand what we just done in the present. What was
we just approved a package, approved to go forward on the package for 4 items. You named 3 of them, and there was one more for, I think it was the trails at Phillips Park or something, that some improvement on that.
And all I'm simply trying to clarify is what they were, so that when we discuss 2021 through 2023, those initiatives don't get part of that conversation. So for the record, we're clarifying those 4. City manager, those are the 4, correct? For the 2019.
As we've discussed in previous council meetings, yes, which is separate and apart from this consideration.
Yeah, it's the current program. It's the one we're under right now, not the
Correct,
one we're
sir.
going to vote on.
Which is what I said.
Then I'll make a motion to accept the community development block grant funds for program year 2021 through 2023.
We don't have any, wait, hold on. That's not the, I'm sorry. I apologize, Councilman Gay, but that is not, it is just to participate in the program. It's
right.
It's not, there aren't any funds that we are accepting at this time.
Make a motion for consideration of an action on the request to adopt a resolution authorizing the city of College Park to continue to participate in the Fulton County Community Development Block Grant CDBG program for program year 2021 through 2020.
All right, and Councilman Clay has seconded that. Is
It's a no-brainer.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 8B, Consideration of an action on a request for approval of an agreement between the City of College Park, the Municipal Electric Authority of Georgia, and the City of Washington, authorizing the sale of excess power to the City of Washington.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. I was hoping we'd be in the terms of this contract by tonight, but we're not. So there's no need to take any action on this. I may bring it back for the June 1st meeting, but I'm guessing it would be unlikely.
Okay. I asked you, Richardson, a clarifying question. Do we want to hear the answer to the clarifying question or just forget it because it may not even come back? Mayor?
I'll leave that up to Mr. Richardson. Do you think the conversation is?
Sure, we can discuss
Perfect.
it because it might help if we want to deal with other negotiations with this.
Okay.
Yeah, well, here's my problem with this contract. Previous contracts have been that we will sell off a certain amount of our reserve, of our power consumption that we've contracted for. This is open-ended.
Mhm.
It gives them the option to purchase, I believe, up to 6 megawatts, but there is no minimum purchase requirement. There is no fixed guarantee. So the problem I have with it is, even if they come through and we were bring this up, I'm not sure I would vote to approve it. And the reason is because we might be able to sell that to somebody else that would guarantee a purchase. And we've already given them an option for, I don't remember, I think it was 2 years for this or something like that.
That's right.
So if we've given them that option, if we voted tonight on it and they took it, they could, over 2 years, they could buy no power from us,
Mhm.
and they would still tie up the right to buy up to 6 megawatts of power. So we couldn't make a contract with somebody else that would guarantee to buy so much power. True?
Yeah, that's true. I was just trying to take advantage of all the opportunities we could because we got about actually 30 megawatts we could sell right now. But,
I applaud everything you've done
yeah,
to sell more power. But
I'm agreeing with you. I don't care if for the load following part of this contract. I'd rather get the guaranteed 6 megawatts, 24 by 7 by 365.
yeah, or at least some minimum purchase amount. I mean, you're giving them an option to buy as much as they want, up to 6 megawatts, but they don't have to buy anything. And what are we getting for that option? Nothing.
Nothing.
And then our hands are tied.
You betcha.
Yeah, if we don't sell it to them though, MEAG will sell it to on the market. But
if there's a spot market for it.
yes.
But if somebody comes along and says, hey, we'd like to buy 5 megawatts of College Park power, and we've got this tied up, and admittedly, we have additional power that we could probably sell, but we could get to a point where we could be prevented from selling 6 megawatts to someone else because of this agreement and not be able to sell anything and not have these people take anything.
Right.
Right. That's my problem.
I shared your concerns about some of that as well. But the consensus is to
Well, there's nothing to do.
just to reconsider that if it comes down the line. So we will move forward.
I had one question. And
I apologize, Councilman Allen. Go ahead.
I had one question. I'll just contact you tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Anyone else have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Richardson.
Okay.
Item 8C, consideration of an action on a request for approval to purchase a replacement washer extractor. It's a protective gear cleaning machine for fire station number 1.
I move to approve.
I second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8D, Consideration of an action on a request for approval of a 1-year extension of the solid waste disposal services for residential and commercial solid waste with BFI Transfer System of Georgia LLC / Republic Services of Georgia at the East Point Transfer Station.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you. Item 8E, consideration of an action on a request for approval of pretreatment of the city's wastewater at the City of Atlanta Department of Aviation Lift Station Number 1 located on Riverdale Road.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I
Second.
second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have a question though.
Oh, okay. All right.
How did the tests go? If you're still there, Mike? I knew they were going to run the test, and I thought they were running them.
Yes, sir. We did a 30-day trial, and everything went well. So
Okay,
that's where we're at this point now. Try to move forward.
great. Thanks.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Were there any abstentions to that vote? All right, hearing none, that was unanimous as well. 9A, consideration of an action on an ordinance requiring multifamily apartment complex owners to register for a rental permit and other relevant changes. Mr. Denmark, I think that you updated this from our previous meeting. Does anyone
Yes.
have? I'm sorry. Hello. Does anyone have any comments or questions in regard to this?
Yes, Mayor, I had a bunch of questions, and Mr. Denmark answered those apparently this afternoon, but I have not had a chance to read the response to it. So I don't know, Winston, how do you want to handle it?
Councilman, I think your questions kind of deserve some close consideration. I mean, it's obviously the will of mayor and council, but you raised some interesting questions. We addressed them, but I'd like to spend a little bit of time with you going over those answers. And then we'll be more comfortable with moving it forward if that's agreeable to the mayor and council.
So are you saying you'd like to me to walk through my questions, or are you saying you'd like to defer it to the next council meeting?
The latter, sir.
All right.
I'll move to defer to the next council meeting then.
Is there a second?
No, I have a comment.
Okay.
This was just moved from the last council meeting. And I wanted to make the motion, but you recommended that we move it. So we had 2 weeks for these questions. So what, can they not just be discussed now?
I'm perfectly willing to go through them, Councilman.
I would love to hear them.
Okay. Now, Councilman Clay did make a motion.
I'll withdraw my motion.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. First off, I've lost touch with exactly how this process works, but let me start with packet page 160. If Oscar is here, or can someone walk through the process? If not, I'll just proceed to my next set of questions, which will be on packet page 161. Is there anybody who can walk through the process of how this is actually going to work?
Councilman, if you mean by the process, you mean, I looked at your notes in your questions, and it was about the brand new complexes would not be subject to this ordinance other than the registration provision. 5 years and older would be subject to everything in the ordinance, unless they had their Gold Star programs, or they have substantial renovations within the last 5 years. Then those multifamily units would be exempted from the requirements of this ordinance.
Right, but I just wonder if somebody, plain old developer or apartment owner or whatever, that wanted to understand this, whether they'd understand it. Let me jump to page 170, the fee schedule. And item Roman 2 under the fee schedule. It says 3 years after this ordinance is initially implemented. And then under that, it says any unit that has passed its inspection shall be eligible to renew their registration permit at half the normally applicable, I think the next page it says, fee. In addition, said units shall only be required to be inspected once every 5 years. Other sections of this law, notwithstanding. I think notwithstanding means regardless of what they say. That's what this says. Am I correct, Mayor? You're the lawyer.
Well, that's what it says.
Okay. Okay. So my first question is, why 3 years after this ordinance is initially implemented? Why is it key to the implementation of the ordinance as opposed to the initiation of the facility? And why 3 years? So are we going to be dropping the fees for registration for everybody at the same time 3 years after the ordinance starts? Or are we going to do it if a new apartment complex comes online, we drop the fees 3 years after they come online, or they take new ownership or whatever? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me why we're saying 3 years. What's magic about 3 years? And why is it 3 years from the initiation of the ordinance?
Yeah, we looked at that, and I couldn't get a good answer to that question either. In the revisions that we sent you, we removed that 3-year requirement. And so that's no longer there because I could not justify it rationally or from a public policy perspective. And so we removed the 3-year language that you're referring to.
So do you even know what it meant? I mean, is it clear in your mind whether it was 3 years after, it was truly 3 years after the initiation of the ordinance?
Well, yes, that's what
okay,
it was.
all right. Well, you agree that doesn't make any sense?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we're going to keep the fees the same. We're not going to drop them.
No, the fees, we talked with Oscar Hudson, and the revised version has an updated fee schedule based on my conversations with Oscar. And you may or may not see that because we sent that to you today.
I got it. I just didn't have a chance to read it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, and then any unit that has passed its inspection shall be eligible to renew their rental registration permit at half the normally applicable rate. So is all of Roman 2 out? So that doesn't,
right?
That's not even relevant, and the meaning of inspection doesn't mean any. Okay, all right. Well, that addresses the issues that I didn't understand. I haven't had a chance to reread the document with corrections put in as a result of that. I don't know. That answered my question, Mayor. It's up to you where you want to go from here.
So that portion has been stricken.
Right.
Has anything else changed?
No, ma'am. Those were the changes that we made.
Okay. So is there a motion to adopt the ordinance based upon the changes outlined?
There is a motion to adopt the ordinance based on the change.
Is there a second?
You're Councilman Gay for some reason.
Yeah, I'm having some trouble as well.
There's a motion to adopt the ordinance based on the changes outlined.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That sounds unanimous to me. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right. We are moving 9B. And so now we are at 10A. Consideration of suggested regulatory guidelines for the permit process and oversight of building implosion demolitions within the city of College Park. Mr. Moore, are you taking the lead on this one?
Actually, I'd like to give Director of Airport Affairs, Gary Young, the opportunity.
Oh, of course. That makes sense. Yes.
Didn't we skip?
We 9B, we're moving to the next meeting.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Mr. Young?
If I may, Madam Mayor, I can speak to this.
Okay.
So we've been working with Gary and Oscar on developing these guidelines for implosions, and also spoke with members from the City of Atlanta and the Department of Aviation to make sure that this process is as smooth as possible and also as safe as possible.
Certainly.
So, and I know Councilman Clay had a few comments, and I went ahead and revised the ordinance, just made some minor revisions, the guidelines. First one was for virtual meetings, to allow virtual meetings. Another was a minor change to the insurance requirements. And a third was adjusting the reception area to a nearby city facility opposed to school.
What were the changes?
So the change was for the virtual meetings was to allow in-person and virtual meetings.
Okay.
The second, for the umbrella insurance policy, it requires the employer's liability policy to be in addition to the 10 million umbrella amount. And the community evacuation, if people have to be, let's say, evacuated from a nearby building, then the police will coordinate with the contractor and applicant to create a reception center at a nearby city facility where any displaced residents or community members can wait.
It had said schools, and since we don't control the schools, I didn't feel that was appropriate to have in there, and this fixes that.
Okay. If we're making changes like this, if they could be distributed to everyone, so we know what those changes are, it would be pretty helpful.
I agree with that. The problem is, it's partly my fault because I can only read so fast over the weekend, and I didn't get my heads up out until early this morning.
Okay.
And they did their best to get the response back, but it's always a rush right before a council meeting, and I just didn't have time to read the responses. And had they sent them to everybody, I don't know whether everybody would have had a chance to read them either.
Well,
I do my best to get the heads up out as early as possible, but
it may be beneficial if there are changes made to circulate those to the entire
absolutely.
Group. But I just had a random question about this, so we just don't want to do any demolitions during the holidays. Is that
was one of my questions too? Why?
The general?
Yeah, just a general in the holidays because there's higher traffic and more travel. So just as a general thought to decrease it during that time. But the chief of inspections, building inspections, Oscar Hudson, can waive that requirement.
Okay. I mean, I just thought it was a little bit random. Even after New Year's, you don't want one on January 4th, but it's fine.
Mayor, I had a general question too that didn't get addressed. There's a lot of, well, to be blunt, CYA in this policy. It's not an ordinance, it's a guideline, right? And what's the difference between an ordinance and a guideline that it's not enforceable, and it makes a number of statements that say basically, well, we're not liable for anything in here, as I read it, that these are guidelines and we can't be held accountable or allow what have you. I'm not a lawyer. Help me out, Mayor.
I think it gives us a little bit more flexibility, as you know, I think this, we're trying to come up with something across the board, but certainly demolition projects of this nature are kind of unique in and of themselves, depending on the circumstances surrounding them. But I would yield to the lawyers we pay. So
yes. Well, the first part of the question, so the guidelines rather than an ordinance. In the ordinance, you can issue citations for someone violating this. This guidelines, as the mayor stated, it's case-by-case basis. Some implosions may require more, some may require less. So it's just an overall guideline to provide applicants the idea and structure of what the city expects.
Well, let me ask you this, Danielle. What there are things in there that talk about the fact that they have to go door to door and alert all the people that were in close to the blast area, for example. And people have to be notified to close down their ventilation system so they don't draw in dust from the possible implosion, dust from the implosion. There are guidelines in there that say they have to remove all the asbestos, for example, because certainly you wouldn't want that dust in the explosion. So what happens if the person in charge of the blasting company, let's say, they don't get that done? They don't get the asbestos removed, and somebody else doesn't tell people on time to close your vents. So people suck into their air conditioning system asbestos particles. And now, what ability does the city have to take any legal action on this if it's not an enforceable ordinance?
Well, hopefully that would never happen, but I understand your concern.
I'm paranoid.
Well, there are different checks and balances along the way to ensure things like that don't happen. But in the application in itself, they are required to indemnify the city if any claims are asserted against them, and the city could determine whether they want a separate agreement with the contractor if you would want it more meat on the guidelines themselves. I mean, they're also required to reimburse the city in the event that the city has to provide additional services, such as if they fail to. Is that off?
I think Mr. Myers.
I
think Mr. Myers is trying to connect Mr. Hudson. Okay, he's muted now. All right.
But in the event of emergency and the city has to provide additional services, then they would be required to reimburse the city for such.
Okay, but that almost sounds like a contract in itself, and this is a guideline, but a guideline is not enforceable. So,
well, as a part of the application process, they agree to comply with the guideline.
Okay, right. I remember they're getting the permit attachments at the back. They have to agree to do that.
Right.
Okay.
Councilman, if I may, the example you cited, if they fail to remove the asbestos, if they fail to notify the public, well, it's not really a City of College Park issue at that point. Anyone who's affected by that asbestos could sue whoever's doing the demolition. And so they would be liable to the public for that. And the law almost imposes strict liability when you're blowing stuff up. So it's a very, very high liability standard when they engage in that behavior. So in the event that they fail to do what they're supposed to do, it's not an issue of what the City of College Park to a large extent. It's an issue of they've exposed themselves to liability to the general public for all of the people they may have harmed.
Okay, well, if all the lawyers are comfortable with this, I'll move to approve.
I just have one comment, and it's just a general comment. Under airspace restrictions, packet page 264, it talks about the city will coordinate with Atlanta Department of Aviation, Federal FAA several weeks prior to the operation. And, you know, I just encourage you to give them work with them as much as possible. You know, a couple of weeks doesn't, you know, needs to be a little bit more if we could give it, you know. So just stay in touch with the FAA and Atlanta Airport.
That's a good point, Ken, because the FAA puts out temporary restrictions in advance of certain athletic events. For example, you can't fly over the stadium. And in this particular case, they would do exactly that. They would put out some kind of restriction that says during this period of time, at least be aware and check with the control tower or air traffic control or what have you. And I agree with you. The sooner we get that to them, I think the better. Good point.
All right, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that those guidelines for the permit process and oversight of building implosion demolitions passes. All right, so we are on to item number 11, the city attorney's report.
I have no report this evening, Madam Mayor.
We're on to number 12, city manager's report.
First items A and B are the delinquent property taxpayers, and that for utility customer accounts. Any questions or concerns regarding either category? Otherwise, I have the remaining item regarding performance standards and direction to take place from there, as well as one other brief update I'd like to share with the body.
Any questions on
I
the
have
delinquent?
nothing. I have nothing on either taxes or utilities. I assume, Althea, we are how much in arrears now on utility bills?
It's over $1 million, about $1,075,000.
Over $1 million, you said?
Yes, sir.
I'm having trouble hearing you, but
That's what she said, $1,075,000.
Yes, sir.
$1,075,000. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions regarding delinquencies?
No.
Nope.
All right.
So my remaining item, follow-up direction regarding the application of performance standards. And this all stems from the exercises we've recently engaged with facilitator Adam Saslow. And the commitment was a follow-up executive team meeting on the subject, which we successfully accomplished during the May 6th engagement to that effect. And the outcome of that is to have a follow-up with all department directors with myself on June 17th, the June 17th executive team meeting, so that we can prepare for what I would like to propose as the engagement or a follow-up engagement with Mayor and City Council to take place Wednesday, July 15th. Wednesday, July 15th works really well because there's only typically one council meeting scheduled for the month of July, and that's the following Monday, July 20th. So in essence, I'm asking for consensus that we proceed with that date and time to take place at 6 o'clock. So go ahead, Councilman Clay.
You want us to reserve on our calendar Wednesday, July 15th?
I would at 6 o'clock p.m. for Mayor and Council, myself, department directors can engage collaboratively so that we can finalize a course of direction relative to performance standards as it relates to the College Park strategic plan.
The only thing I would say is that in theory, before COVID-19, I had blocked out that period from about the 10th to the 15th of July to attend a wedding. And I doubt that I'm going to do that with COVID-19, but I will be back by the 16th. I might not show up, or I might have to do a virtual meeting from I suppose I could do a virtual meeting maybe from out of the country if I'm not on an airplane. I just throw that out. That's the only conflict that I have.
How about Wednesday, July 29th?
Well, that's good on my calendar.
And would that work well for all the others, all four of you, the remaining?
Okay,
I don't have anything going on.
Okay, and I'll be around. July
Works for me.
6:00 p.m. Department directors, myself, and each of you as the elected officials. I will make arrangements and Adam will participate with us. And of course, we'll make a decision as to what the physical arrangement will be. Perhaps by that time we'll be well suited to engage personally. But we'll make arrangements and I'll incorporate that on the calendar. So I appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. So one
July
other,
29th, right?
yes, sir, Councilman Allen, July 29th at 6:00 p.m. Here at City Hall. But again, we'll make arrangements appropriately, whatever makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
ladies.
right.
And one other item I'd like to share with Mayor and City Council, and I've talked to Mayor Motley Broom about this, and thus I felt compelled to share with the group. The Office of the City Manager is in the process of appointing a committee to assist in the review of any opportunities to advance austerity measures, identify savings, identify any abilities to achieve ancillary efficiencies in operations. This committee will participate by working closely with the city manager to engage as outlined, to include several department directors who are involved with enterprise fund operations specifically, as well as a couple residents from the community who would be able to offer some insights in that regard as well. So this is not a board or committee of the Mayor and City Council. It is that of the Office of the City Manager as we continue to navigate pending challenges associated with financial affairs and revenue forecasts. So
Can you give me an example of an austerity measure, Terrence?
that's just a general term I like to use, of course, to identify any opportunities for savings, cutting costs, whatever the case may be. So we've accomplished a lot during the proposed budget process for 2020, 2021. However, during the course of the coming months, there may be some opportunities to even go further as we continue to navigate this environment. So for example, in one department to streamline operations, there may be some opportunities to be efficient in one of the sections of public works, for example, or
Okay.
something along those lines. Nothing terribly specific yet. I just think that we are at a place in which we can engage some additional insight to help us consider going forward. And that relates to some of the moving target commentary I've offered during the course of the proposed budget process for the upcoming fiscal year. Because particularly in the first quarter of the new fiscal year, we'll be all over the board in terms of revenue forecasts, what may happen, what may not happen. So I just think it's appropriate that we do the absolute best we can. And if we have a few individuals who can help identify any opportunities or offer recommendations to the Office of the City Manager and ultimately to Mayor and City Council, we will be able to be that much better. So,
Terrence,
sir.
A while back, I had made a recommendation that we also have a committee to look at possible revenue opportunities. And that's primarily would probably be at the arena and at the GICC, but you never know, you might find some other revenue opportunities.
Yes, sir.
Have you thought about doing that?
That would be part of this exercise as well. So working with this group, reporting to this office, ultimately bringing considerations back to Mayor and City Council, that would be part of the package. Sir.
Okay.
So very well said, and thank you. And I appreciate that additional feedback because that is part of the vision.
I think it's a great idea because at Delta, when they did that, they came up with a lot of good ideas.
Yes, sir. Which is what we're hoping to accomplish here again as we continue the path for the new fiscal year. Again, I appreciate Mayor and City Council, the additional budget workshop meetings we've had to get us to where we are. We've worked really, really hard, but again, this is a continuous process and some additional eyes to help identify efficiencies in operations, reductions where applicable, as well as any ancillary opportunities for revenue enhancement will help us to get to that place. So again, I appreciate you all's support in those regards, and we look forward to being productive as a result. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. I yield at this time.
All right, so we are on to the report of Mayor and Council. And Councilman Clay?
Well, I only had one item, and that is I wanted to support the letter that was read from the Main Street Association and encourage us to put that on a work session agenda, perhaps for the next council meeting, hopefully next council meeting, to talk about how we might expand on Main Street the parking area into the parking area between Princeton and Harvard. We've had some discussion in the past about closing that area down. Jackson Myers has brought that up. The Department of Transportation expressed an interest in helping the congestion that occurs as you come up on Harvard Avenue from the north. Because the vehicles are sticking out. You've got a left-hand lane across the tracks to go over to the Marta station or the church or what have you. And there was some talk about eliminating parking in that area. Well, of course, congestion is way down these days because of COVID-19. But our restaurants are just trying to come back. And I'm strongly in favor of us maintaining good social distancing. Main Street Association thinks that this might be an opportunity to publicize what we might do to encourage people even to come from other areas to College Park, not in droves, not overwhelming us, but rather be able to sit out on an extended patio in front of the restaurants, route the sidewalk around it so that it would be along the street side, so you wouldn't have people walking in between outside tables and the servers coming in and out of the restaurant, and have that area as an extension of the restaurant, which would help them because they're already having to eliminate a large amount of their space to provide required separation. And it could be a good benefit for our restaurants. It'll help people locally to participate in the restaurants easier because they'll have a little more capacity. And it could be a really good publicity for our downtown area. So I would like to encourage that be put on the agenda for the next work session and discuss exactly how that might be done. And I think Main Street Association would love to give a presentation at that time.
Madam Mayor,
I'm good with that. Anybody else have a problem with it?
I do.
Oh, I'm good with it.
You have a problem with it?
I'd like to propose June 15th if I can.
Okay. Do we already have a full workshop?
I think we do. We have 3 solid items and it looks to be pretty full at that time. So I could make this a priority. I just like to clarify that a bit before I proceed.
Well, if at some point, I don't know what other items you have, so I can't judge priority, but at some point, our restaurants are hurting. Everybody's hurting. We all know that. And the sooner that we can help them bring in more revenue, the better they all are. We've done a good job of getting some good restaurants on Main Street. I would hate to see them go out of business. And the longer we wait, the more difficult it becomes. And by the way, if they make money, the city makes money too. So it's a revenue opportunity for the city.
June 1st it is. I'll make the other adjustments for other considerations.
All right.
That's a good idea.
I appreciate it. My apologies.
Councilman Taylor?
I don't have anything.
Councilman Allen?
I just had a couple of things. I didn't know if Mike Mason's on here, or Terrence, you can probably answer it. I didn't know if they have gotten their drivers. Did they get their drivers? Remember, they're waiting on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Matter of fact, they started. They started last week. A couple drivers started last week, and we're waiting on one more to start in the next couple weeks.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, don't forget the census. We need to get it in. Everybody needs to participate, do the census. And Terrence, May is National Bike Month, so get on your bike again. Everybody in the neighborhood, get on your bike and ride around the neighborhood. Time to do that. 6 West is having a town hall summit on June the 11th, so everybody put that on your calendar. And be safe, be careful.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen.
That's
Councilman
all.
Gay?
Well, good evening again. We may have broken a record for being done. It's 8:32. I don't know if that's a record, but at least it's a record to come that on council. But I have actually a few things, so be patient with me. I had asked Hugh to reach out to MEAC, I believe it was, to see if there were any COVID relief from the federal level, Hugh. And because College Park being one of the MEAC cities, and there's been $1 trillion, I'm just wondering, Hugh, there's been any conversation about, Hugh, are you there?
Yeah, I asked, and they're not getting anything in the first round. I don't know about anything going forward, but no, not yet.
Can you keep your fillers out for if the MEAC city is going to get any relief, if they ask for relief?
I haven't heard of any others.
Okay. The second thing I have is, I wasn't following why we moved 9B. City Manager, can you tell me why we moved 9B? I didn't hear why we moved 9B.
We just got background checks late this afternoon. I initiated that because I haven't had the opportunity to review them. I think we got them. I got mine in hand at about 4:50. So that was the concern.
Got it.
I agree. I got mine late as well.
The second thing is, Gerald, I understand you reached out to, this was Councilman Clay's initiative. You reached out to McLaren for the senior picture on the electronic board, but I didn't hear anything about Tri-City or Banneker.
I have been in touch with them, and I got to reach back out again because they kind of, I made a request to try to limit the number of photos that they would send me. I got 25 from McLaren. Banneker, I asked their group to send, if they could, press down a little bit and see if they could come up with College Park citizens. And I haven't heard from them since I asked for that. So I'll follow back up on that. And the same thing for Tri-Cities.
Just a generic congratulations to the graduating class of 21, just be something rather than wait for them to try and figure out who lives in our city and who don't.
Well, certainly. I mean, I can do that on the LED out there. I kind of want it to be a little bit more personable on that. Because I think the ones from McLaren were really well done. They sent everything to me. They sent the logo, they sent the crest for the school, and we incorporated it in our production. So I will follow up with them.
Banneker.
Yes.
Okay. Or consider just posting the valedictorian and salutatorian, something, okay?
Well, yes, sir. And I thought about if they felt like they were jumping through too many hoops, I would just ask them to send me 10 photos, okay. And I wouldn't be as strict about it being from College Park.
Okay, cool. Move right on. Listen, everybody that I'm aware of has been very active in supporting our front line workers, our fire and police. There's been sandwiches, there's been restaurants, there's just been so many amazing contributions. But I do have a concern that has occurred, at least in my ward. I've been getting phone calls that these efforts are not being coordinated. In other words, people are being missed out and they're calling me asking me, why didn't I serve them picadillos? Why didn't I bring them a sandwich? Blah, blah, blah. So what I'm going to ask, at least my constituents who are, or those stakeholders who are supporting people in Ward 4, if they could just give me a courtesy call so that we can at least try and coordinate this so that no one will feel left out. That's just one of the concerns that I'm getting calls and emails. The next thing I want to talk about is I need clarification on the Cdbg allocations that we agreed on at the previous council meeting. I understand I just mentioned 4 and Councilman Clay confirmed those 4, but I'm still not clear, City Manager, if you're talking about 2018 allocations because there's no mention of 2020. The motion we just made was 2021. So do you mean that the 4 projects are 2019 and 2020? Can you please clarify?
I believe of the 4 in question, 3 of them were from 2018 program year. 1 was from program year 2019, which is all wrapped up. So 2018 was leftover funding allocations that have been made available, going back to some of the projects we've initiated. The pending opportunity for Phillips Park is from program year 2019. That is all. That's been done. That's been authorized for submission. So we are still awaiting that and above and beyond what's already been approved. Okay. As far as 2020, that has not yet begun. So there's nothing to speak of regarding 2020 or 2021. What you approved this evening was simply the commitment to continue participation in the Fulton County Community Development Block Grant Urban Program Designation.
All right, so and I'll be real expeditiously. So on the 2019 Cdbg allocations, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look at ways to find the city match, since there's a conversation about monies not being available due to the COVID. So one of the things I'm doing for the city is to try and find other ways to do the city's 25% match. I've asked Mayor for letter. I've reached out to the chairman of Fulton County. I reached out to Commissioner Joe Corn. But there seems to be some kind of misunderstanding as to what in other words, City Manager, when will the 2019 Cdbg allocations be before Fulton County, or have they already been before Fulton County?
My understanding is what's been approved by Fulton County were the 2018 remaining funding commitments resulting in pending awards to the City of College Park. For 2019, that is to be determined. They have not yet informed City Administration as to when that will be made available. However, generally speaking, my understanding in the next 2 months it will be made available. The next 2 months may work, considering that would be the beginning of our fiscal year. So again, no specific dates have yet been provided to the office of the city manager or any other members of city administration representing the City of College Park. But generally speaking, my understanding is that it will be early in the new fiscal year, which was sometime post July 1, 2020.
Okay, so someone sent me a Facebook Zoom meeting of BIDA, and sent to me last night. So there's a meeting this week with a representative from BIDA to discuss any concerns or recommendations that they may have. But let me just say this for the record. Prior to this, mayor and council, we agreed to put a dog park, and it was approved, where we are talking about a splash pad. So if that person wants some better understanding, that space is, I don't believe, and we're going to talk more about this, but I don't think there's any conflict about at least where we're proposing to put a splash pad. The next, I only have 2 more. Councilman Clay, the warehouse on 29, I just got a phone call today. So here's the misunderstanding that I had. It appears that they did not raise the apron up high enough to prevent the trucks from turning left. That was a concern because when I went out on the site, that's what it'll look like to anyone. what I've learned is that, and I mean, this is amazing. What I learned is that the GDOT right of way is so far back into the complex, you can make a turn that what you and I work together on to get a curb.
Right.
It's so the right of way for GDOT is so far back. I don't even know if what we worked on it will even work. In other words, once they get past the GDOT right of way, that's almost 100 feet before you get to the road that you can turn left. So the city engineer did call me and she said she's gonna be, so Terrence, you think you could bring to a workshop, or at least educate us about what our options are on trying to restrict trucks from turning left?
Well, you know, Councilman Gay, what we could do, you and I could get on a Zoom call with maybe the city engineer and talk it through, because that's, you and I are on the same page that we got to do something about that. And I thought we had a solution with the higher curb. So
I would encourage that direction, because my guidance to the city engineer, Loretta Washington, PE, to also work collaboratively with Prime Engineering, Rob McPherson, PE, is to accomplish exactly that. So we just visited as recently as a few days ago to make sure that those guidelines and requirements are directed. So I would like to give that an opportunity, and thus Loretta can be available to join with you all for specifics. Otherwise, I've had my time to visit with her to go over those requirements that are based on the concerns that shared by Councilman Gay. So everybody's working to be responsive in that regard. So Councilman Gay and Councilman Clay, I would love to endorse the idea for a separate visit in that regard, to be clear respectively. And again, this is continuing to be part of Ms. Washington's orientation in her new role as city engineer.
I think, what do you think, Roderick, with that?
That's fine with me. I just want you to stay involved because you've been a strong advocate of it, and it's what we thought is not going to work. We'll talk about it when you look at it.
Well, you know, maybe that goes back to putting the bar up. You know, we were talked out of that based on the curb, but that's not bogged down this meeting. Why don't you and I and the city engineer and maybe
keep me involved, please. Keep me involved, because I go by there on a bike a lot and I don't want people turning left on me.
Well, one thing keep in mind, if we have three of us, we've got a quorum.
Oh, okay. Then you two.
So I'm not trying to exclude you, Ken, but it becomes a public meeting at that point.
No, you two share that.
Okay, real quick, I got two more. I want to thank Ms. Miller for reaching out to get the COVID testing at the GICC. Is that this week, Ms. Miller? I guess the GICC COVID testing now in the parking lot?
Tomorrow.
It is, but it's tomorrow, but it was put together actually by the mayor.
Okay.
I just executed it, but it should be a great event, and we may have another one in about 3 weeks that 2 Chainz would be sponsoring.
Well, that's
do you have to register for that at all, or is it just drive up?
No registration.
Right.
Hello?
Nasal? Is it just nasal? Or is
No, it's no registration, and they're doing the nasal and the blood test.
Great.
And do you get your results? Do you park and wait for your results, or what?
I think they give you the results for the nasal, but for the blood test, they have to send you I think they send an email.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I think that's it. I just had one final one, actually two. Michael Hicks, we're supposed to talk, but the see something, say something is off to a good start. But what I had sent you is that according to this directory that I got from the clerk, a lot of these people are no longer here. So we need to make sure that there's a way that when you send out deficiencies that they go to the right people. A lot of these people are not here. I don't know how y'all gonna work that out, but these threads are constantly changing.
Okay, so I've got a plan and I'll go over it with you.
All right, the final one is BIDA. So as we look to replace the at-large member, and I just want to say this, to whomever's listening. I'm getting a lot of concerns about BIDA, ethics, and I want everybody to be mindful that, you know, we're still taking a hard look at a lot of these departments. The COVID is just kind of muffled the conversation, but that, you know, I'm getting calls. When I tell you I'm getting calls. So I just want everybody to be mindful that the public is still looking at us. They're still talking. So that's all I have.
All right. So wrapping things up, I was going to talk about the COVID-19 testing, and that is available at the GICC tomorrow from 10 to 2. You can just drive up. There is no appointment necessary. And I would urge anyone who needs to get tested to take advantage of this opportunity. I think it'll be a very good event. For those of you who are watching online, you might have seen that I've been changing my backgrounds, and that is because I am trying to salute our graduating seniors. I know this is not how you expected things to go in your senior year, but know that all of us here in the city are very proud of your accomplishments, and we want to celebrate you in any way we can. May is, in addition to Bike Month, it is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And certainly during these tough times, I would urge anyone who needs help to seek out help, because certainly these are challenging, uncertain times for all of us, and we need the opportunities to connect with other people. You can go to mentalhealth.gov to get more information. It's certainly just as important as your physical health, and we need to embrace it as such. Also, last but not least, a number of you probably got calls from me this afternoon about the census, echoing Councilman Allen's discussion earlier, because we are still last in Fulton County in terms of response rates, and it matters so very much to all the things that we want to do over the next decade as a city. So if we want the community we deserve, we have to step up and be counted, because it matters for our schools. It matters for our public safety officers, making sure that they have the resources they need, making sure that as we are going forward with so many other projects that we want to do, that we get the businesses that we want because we have the people. We know the people are here. We know they exist and they're spending money, and we need them to be counted. So please, even if you've filled out your census, ask your neighbors. Make sure that they've done it as well. We need to boost our numbers as we move forward, because if we're not counted, then we're not going to count for the next decade, and we're going to lose out on funding that should rightfully be in College Park. So that's all I have.
Mayor, before you adjourn.
Yes, sir.
I may have had a mental lapse, but executive session minutes.
Thank you so much, Councilman Clay. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. I will take a motion to approve the executive session minutes from May 4th.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passes. And I would also take a motion to approve the executive session minutes from this evening.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passes as well. All right, we are adjourned at 8:51 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Good night,
gentlemen.
Night.
All right, bye-bye.
Good night.